Okay, we are going to discuss, maybe and hopefully, for the final time, my situation whenever I was fired from my former employer a week before my 8-year anniversary. My feelings on that, uh, and I think today we put it to bed. We also discuss something that's not new and something that wasn't around because of my termination, but a phrase that we talked about last week. It was all about make your own way, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to make our own way, trying to do our own thing, and make something happen here. But today and this week, we talk about a name is what you make it. The two pillars, you could say, the two mission statements of me, my life, and something I've heard my entire life and have chosen to just make a part of my life from here on out. And my termination didn't spawn this phrase, a name is what you make it. That was done a long time ago by my family, my father and my grandfather. And it's been something that we have held close to our hearts ever since. But it's something that I'm going to use, like I said, as a pillar for what we do next. So let's get into it a little bit. I wrote a bunch of this down. So if I'm looking over here, it's because of that. You should see this setup. Maybe I'll post a picture of the setup that I got going on right now. I got a tripod coming. We got stuff coming, but we're making it work. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done telling the story. I wanted to let people. I wanted to get it all out there. So, like I said, I wrote a lot of this down because I wanted to get my thoughts in order and try not to ramble too much, like I'm already doing. But I'm done telling the story. I'm done letting those people in that place control any piece of my life or my narrative or how I operate. You know, I tussled, even last night, whenever I was writing this stuff down. I tussled with what I should share, what recordings or emails or texts or guests I should have on, and if I should go down the list of all the terrible ways that my former employer treated myself, other staff members, clients, so-called friends of their own, and still were doing as I was walking out the door without a box to put my shit in, or a window for that matter to throw it out of that soulless, windowless office building. However, this whole story, it's not my whole personality. It's my first viral video on TikTok whenever I kind of just, I recorded myself because I'd been doing it for a while, and I wanted to get my immediate reaction in case I ever was like asked to go back or ever had, bad thoughts or whatever. Just I wanted to see what I look like right after it happened. And it was my first viral video, so to speak. I think as of today on my TikTok, it has like 750,000 views. It's on my YouTube, my Instagram, and I put it on my Facebook page. And not that that matters, but it felt like that was the moment where I knew that a story could resonate with people. And it's still resonating. People are still commenting on it today, talking about their own situations and sharing their piece about being let go from either an important job or a job that they loved or a career or whatever it may have been. So it was kind of my first interaction with what it felt like to really reach people with something, with a story. It was my first reaction right behind my weight loss journey, which I'm going to talk more about that next week. But it is a big part of my story. It's a huge reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. And honestly, finally have taken the leaps and the steps to do something for myself and on my own. So I guess in a weird, twisted, fucked up way, I should almost, thank them for firing me, which I won't. But because it wasn't right. And I'll hold that down to this day. But it was so unexpected. It was a week before my 8-year anniversary, right before my third week of vacation would have kicked in, and they would have had to pay out all of those days to me. But instead, I got nothing but the door. So you can see where there might be some thoughts there on the timing of it all. Like I said, I should almost thank them for, I guess I should almost thank them anyway for, verbally accosting me in my last couple of weeks, playing mind games, constantly switching the rules, the policies, and, in turn, I guess I should thank them for asking for remedies, asking me for remedies to fix their broken system. And when I gave them viable options, I was sent packing. But I won't take any of them. I won't take it, and I won't thank any of them. I won't think about them once I finish my piece here, and that's peace without an I. That is Peace, because it ain't about them. It ain't even about me. It's about mine and what I have, and mine's peace. Peace. We have found it. We've moved forward. We're moving forward. I've been set free, and much like my 135-pound weight loss and the transformation of that since November of 2023, I'll never go back to that weight. I'll never carry that weight again. That feeling, those terrible existences and emotions that I felt, and now that I'm on the other side of it, because this happened October 3rd. So it's been a while. But now that I'm on the other side of it, I don't want to carry that weight anymore. Just like I don't want to carry that 135 pounds, and I don't want to carry the next 90 pounds that I have to lose to reach my ultimate goal. It was just a terrible existence. I carried a lot of work home. My wife would ask me all the time, she'd be like, how was work? And I'd be like, it's work. And then in that moment, I didn't think anything of it. I had already repressed some of the things that happened. Even if it was a small, tiny thing to me, if I would have told her a story of something that happened that day, she might have lost her mind. She might have told me to quit. But in my mind, everything was fine. It was like a bad relationship is what it was, and that's fine. And some of you might be thinking, is this just a little bit dramatic? Maybe. You compare it to other people's situations and what they're going through, maybe. But one thing I do know is that in the end, it's all about perspective. I changed mine for the better, and that's thanks to my former employer. And hopefully that's thanks enough for them. Because even though they may have been the vehicle to which I got the opportunity to drive to a new location of life, that 135 pounds of fat isn't the only weight that I'm shedding with this topic in the opening of this podcast. So that leads me into today's title. A name is what you make it. And I talked about this a little bit last week, how there was two phrases in my life from my grandpa and my dad that got passed along. It was almost like family slogans. A name is what you make it. Your name is important, so make sure you do good things and make sure that you are the type of person that people want to be around, and that when you're gone, it matters. And not in like a famous way, just that you did great things. And great can be just as small as, starting your own business in your own small town and helping keep taxes low and providing a service for the community and joining the local town board and everything like that, or continuing that business and, continuing to work and build and bring children into the world that are going to hopefully do something for the better. So that's all that is. And that's just that's where we propose a new scenario here. I wrote a lot of stuff down, so I'm going to be reading a lot here today. I feel like people are making so much money in this type of thing. Like there's so many famous podcasts, whereas you used to need such a huge corporate backing, and you needed to be a CBS or NBC radio affiliate to get on a mic and have an audience and that sort of thing. But now people are just doing podcasts into mixers and laptops and putting it up, and they have really good cameras and they have really great editing, and it's popular, and they're saying things that people enjoy. So a lot of people are pretty young and they've got these great products. But I also feel like once they've created this thing, it's almost like they just have this want to do something different, to go to the next thing. It's like, all right, we created this. It's successful. It's a great business model. And I feel like a lot of them, you're not going to see, they've already put maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years in. So now they're at a point where like, well, what? Maybe I do this for another 5, 10 years, but I want to do other stuff because they have the ability to. So my scenario is that I feel like people are going to be retiring so much earlier in the near future. Pretty soon a lot of these podcasts, these famous shows, they'll need new hosts. So you should do your thing. Post your video. And if you're good enough, and it's in God's plan, they'll seek you out. All of these streaming services are just they're replacing the mainstream networks and the big alphabets, the ABCs, the CBSs, the Foxes, and or in many cases, they're just money-making platforms that are under those same names now. they're all just a part of a bigger network, and it's all just that sort of thing. Not a conspiracy it's facts, some of which will be bought and sold back to you in the form of these said podcasts. Maybe you'd see one day where a Joe Rogan or the Diary of a CEO or any of these great, big, huge podcasts, pardon my take on the sports world, just things like that, they get bought out by huge corporations, like we're seeing a little bit with Pat McAfee's show and a little bit with Bussin' with the Boys. They get bought out by huge corporations, then they just get repackaged and sold back to you. So what's to say that you won't already see that, or you won't see that on Netflix and Hulu and different things like that? So they get bought out by this company, and then they get put back to you. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is a lot of these people are going to retire. They're going to want to move away. They're going to want to keep the product, keep the show because it's great and somebody else can host it. There's other great hosts and there's other great people and talented people. But there's a real underlying factor of just good old-fashioned grassroots to this, social media world. And whether it's for the Tonight Show or to provide a self-creative outlet by doing this show, my show right here, I'm going to put my name out there because a name is what you make it, and I'm going to make something of mine. So that's why we get into today's episode, and we're going to start it out a little bit with what we have been ending our show with, but it ties right back into what I just talked about. What did we learn? This week's What Did We Learn? And I have a warning if you're watching this on your phone. It's going to begin to feel a little heavier the more you listen to what I'm saying. What did I learn this week? After visiting with some friends this past weekend, to me, social media almost felt like a chore, something I was more obligated to check and do instead of enjoy. I think it's because of how much fun we were having with our friends and just living our lives together with our kids, hanging out. We didn't really care about anything else. We took maybe 5-10 pictures between the three of the grown-ups that were there. But there's also beauty in this social media. We just talked about it, how you can build something from nothing, and eventually maybe somebody comes along and buys it up. And now you can hand that off to somebody else who is deserving, who maybe doesn't have quite as big a platform, but they're just as talented, if not more talented, than whoever made it. And now you can go on and do something else, and that carries on. That's your legacy. And I think that's kind of a beauty of this social media thing. As long as the internet and everything else stays around, this stuff will be around. And the fact that there is such a huge amount of people that want to do this for a living and are actually good at it and can provide entertainment, information, storytelling, advice, laughter, sadness. But at the same time, there is almost the same amount of people who are perfectly content with going to work every day to an office or a factory or a set number of hours that they have for the week, unless they sign up for some overtime. Hopefully you can get that. Hopefully you can sign up. You're not forced to do any overtime. And they take pride in a hard day's work. Maybe it's nurturing a farm or an animal or the land or taking care of the plumbing and homes and hospitals or electrical work and the damn computers and Wi-Fi that we all need so desperately that I'm talking about right now. So there's a beauty in that social media. And we're at a weird time where all social media is telling us to get off of social media. But all of those who are telling us this are a lot of times paid large amounts of money to post on social media. And they keep us engaged. And in turn, on this social media, they keep us on there. But we view it as more of different sections of what we used to. Or should we view it as different sections of what it used to be, as in maybe like the newspaper? If you're a big sports person, your algorithm is the sports section. Now, these sections are on our social media accounts. They're on our algorithms, but we've never really stopped doing what we've always done. We're just changing the vehicle in which we consume it. So in the end, we're all just looking for a little bit of balance. And I think that's what I learned this past week. I learned that it's all about balance. And even on social media, whenever they tell you that, it's all about the little moments and, you want to record this and you don't want to record that and you want to put all that information out there or you want to be a part of the social media game, sometimes it's okay to take a step back and sometimes it's okay to lean into it. It's really as long as you have balance in your life and nothing else is suffering, and the bills are paid, and the kids are happy, and mama's fed, and all those things, you'll be okay. So it's all about balance. What did we learn? That's the segment for this week. We're kind of getting towards the end of things here. I had 2 more things I wanted to do, but I'm choosing to film the show today on a different device that I need to access my Spotify Wrapped. So I want to go through my Spotify Wrapped. So I think what I'll do is at the end of the show, we'll put it and I'll just screen record it and maybe I'll narrate over it because I'm interested. My Spotify Wrapped is always very interesting as far as that goes. So stay tuned for that. The only other thing that I had that I wanted to discuss today, and make sure I get out there, is reaction and going over the Diddy documentary. Fiddy don't care. I said this on a video after I'd watched the first 2 episodes. It took us a week, of course, because life. It took us a week to finish 4 episodes. I think there's more. There's got to be more. Is this the first 4? Is this the first 4 installment, and he's got 4 more, so we can end up with 8 in the first season, and maybe there's even more after that? But he just don't care, and rightfully so, because the way I think he's looking at it, or at least I hope that's the way he's looking at it, is that sometimes people are just not great people, and just because they have a whole bunch of money doesn't mean that they deserve to not have the full story told and let everybody else make their judgment of what they think. And I think that's kind of what he's doing. That or he's tricking us all, which is very possible because he's got a lot of money too, and so this is now his image of you can't hate enough. If you try to hate like 50, you're not even close. You're not even halfway there. He's about as big as hater as it gets, but in the most like funny and good way possible. So who knows? Maybe he's pulling the wool over our eyes and making a big buck out of this, which he is. But maybe he also truly believes like I've got enough money. He had too much money, talking about Diddy. And so why not expose him for everything that everybody was saying? So it's just interesting to kind of see that reaction and watch that documentary and just see how he is and what he decided to do. Sometimes people with money do good things, even though it doesn't seem like that's kind of the narrative these days. But sometimes a guy like Fiddy is like, you know what, this is a terrible person. He beat women. He molested people. He sexually assaulted people. So allegedly, I'll say allegedly because he's really not. I don't think he's been taken down for anything, really. So he went to the court of public opinion, just like P. Diddy did, which we talked about in that video. He went to the court of public opinion to try to sway it, and it worked. He didn't go down for all the different charges that he had against him. He went down for a very minor amount of them. And he's, worked the system multiple times, even though he probably should have gotten in trouble for a lot of different things, as we see in the documentary. So make sure you go check that out. And I'd love to hear your reaction on all of it. All right, we're going to get into the Spotify Wrapped for me for 2025. All right, I'm going to make an excuse now. It's a family plan, so it's shared. So there might be some stuff on here that I have no idea about, for one thing. But we're going to see. Shout out God's Country, TL's Roadhouse, Big X The Plug. Man, we got all kinds of stuff going on. We're all over the place. And I think that's what's going to show in this. Get out of here, Amron. That's what's going to show in this Wrapped. But there's going to be something on here or a couple things on here, probably a song in particular, like a worship song, which is fine. I don't mind. It's a family plan. But I wanted to do this together. So hopefully you've stuck around this long to check out the Spotify Wrapped. I love these things. I know they're silly, and I know it's just a reason for us to be on social media and, continue to feed the big machine. But I don't know. It's just fun. It's like life stats, It's like one of those things where, how many times have I gone to the bathroom, or how many times was I close to death? Like, how many minutes in life have I listened to music? That's the kind of stuff that you want to hear. Anyway, speaking of minutes, listen to music. It's the first thing they go for. So let's go check this out, and let's see where we are on the minutes listened. Come on. Holy cow. 26 days worth of music. 37,000 minutes. Is that a lot? I haven't even really seen most other people's Wrapped, so I don't know if that's a lot or not. 249 different genres. Is there really 249 genres? Honky Tonk number 1. Pop rap. Worship at number 3. That makes sense. That's my daughter. She's a pastor. Alternative rock and then oldies. I can't imagine what my age is going to be. Here we go. We're thinking 60s. Maybe 50. Yeah, 67. That's crazy. That's so crazy. Oh, can I guess my number one song? I listened to almost 3,000 songs. See, that doesn't feel like a lot, though. There's so many songs I didn't listen to. So many songs I didn't listen to. So many country songs I didn't listen to in general. I was getting ready to say it's probably something by Zach Top. Probably Use Me. The only way it could be Your Way's better is because we've played it. We played it like 3 or 4 times in the car. No, okay, it is Use Me. All right, that's what I figured. I figured it'd be something by Zach Top. If you did just like the last 90 days, it was probably Big X the Plug. More than likely. Yeah. It's such a great song. See, 50 times doesn't feel like a lot to me. I feel like I've listened to that song way more. Use Me. So those are my top 5 songs. Of course, there's going to be a lot of Zach Top on this. I can already tell. Because that cold beer and country music, I mean, he's the next George Strait. There's no doubt about it. Yep, it's fantastic. 874 minutes. So 874 minutes of my almost 3,000 minutes listened. Look at this. Look at this. The Boys from 49 went Hardy's album. Oh, yeah. These are great ones. I'm happy with this. I do listen to a lot of podcasts. Second year in a row, Foreplay, the golf podcast, has been my number one. Here we go again. Shout out God's Country. Oh, yeah. Knew they'd be on there. They're moving up to number 2. They probably would overtake Foreplay, if I had to guess. Bethel Music. Who's Bethel Music? Is that one of my wife's? It must be. Zach Top's number 1. I don't know why they're doing a race. Oh, it's a race throughout the year. Okay. 70 streams of that album. Makes sense. In June alone? Wait a minute. I don't understand what these are. Oh, maybe that's from the albums. Yeah, we kind of knew that. So of my 3,000 minutes, I spent 1,200 with him. Look at that top 5. I don't know who Bethel Music is, but that's interesting. Yeah. So what do we got? Zach going to share a word here? Okay. Yeah, we're going to skip this part. No offense, we can't play this. We can't play any of the music that we want to hear on here. All right, we're going to pick it back up after my special message from the Prince of Country Music. What club do you belong to? Serotonin, Grit, Cosmic Stereo. These are all just made up, aren't they? We already gone through? We already went through these. Okay, so which one am I? I am this sad boy season, Soft Hearts Club. Oh, boy. I'm a recruiter in the Soft Hearts Club. That makes me sound not good. I don't know. 34%. I don't listen to any. Well, Tyler Childers. I may have to check out those guys. I don't really listen to those guys and gals. Huh. I wonder what all that's about. Yep, there's the top artists, top songs from each one of them. Makes sense. 37. So we're going to just doing a recap. Okay, let's skip up ahead here. Pulled some files. Hold on a second. Let's see what this is. All right, so apparently they go by days or something. From Deanna Carter to Cardinal Bloom. You were on it on New Year's Day. This looks like January 2nd was a heavy day of listening. Wonder why that was. This is all my wife's stuff. She was off work, so she probably was home just listening to music throughout the day or something. Maybe she was off work. I don't know. Maybe I was off work. Who knows? June 16th. That was Father's Day, so we were down on the beach. I was definitely listening to a lot of 90s country. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We probably just turned on the 90s country station or like a Zach Top station, and it just went through all that. August 9th. Went from Yacht Rock to Honky Tonk. Hall & Oates, Steely Dan, Luke Bryan, FGL, Zach Top. It don't matter. I'm telling you, we're nicheless around here. Most diverse day. How can you get any more verse than Deanna Cardinal Bloom? Gwen Stefani, Rihanna, Nelly, Fleetwood Mac, the Beach Boys. You'll just never know what you'll find on my Spotify Wrapped. That's awesome. Share yours in the comments. Back to the show. That's the show for this week. It felt short. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. But a name is what you make it. Make your own way in this world. Find balance. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about the weight loss journey. We're about 135 pounds down since November of 2023. And I've just been constantly keeping track of things that I want to discuss and just thoughts that I have and things that I want to do on here. But if you've got something you want to hear, you got questions, you got comments, you want to get in there and talk things out, go to my social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. and, of course, on YouTube, where you can find the podcast as well on Spotify and Apple, and also on YouTube. Make your own way. A name is what you make it, and we're going to make something of ours. Whether it's The Tonight Show, can you imagine me hosting The Tonight Show? Or just doing this every day while I got a full-time job doing something else. We're going to do something, and I appreciate everybody coming along for the ride.